Eddie Jones has launched a fierce critique of New Zealand Rugby over the way it handled the dismissal of Scott Robertson, arguing that the governing body capitulated to player influence rather than backing its head coach through a turbulent period. The former England and Australia boss did not hold back as he weighed in on the controversy surrounding Robertson's exit from the New Zealand National Rugby Union team setup. While NZ Rugby chair David Kirk has denied claims of a player-led revolt, reports have suggested that senior figures within the squad, including Captain Ardie Savea, were central to a review process that ultimately contributed to the coach's removal. Jones, now in charge of Japan, believed that whether or not there was an organized rebellion, player sentiment clearly played a decisive role. More importantly, he argues that the union mishandled the situation by relying too heavily on feedback gathered during a postseason review instead of engaging directly and constructively with their head coach at a review that raised eyebrows following a disappointing 2025 international campaign. NZ Rugby initiated a comprehensive review of the All Blacks' performances and internal environment. According to Kirk, approximately 20 players were interviewed as part of the process. While he dismissed suggestions of a coordinated uprising against Robertson, speculation quickly mounted that senior players had voiced significant concerns about leadership, direction, and alignment within the coaching group. Several squad members publicly defended Savea, rejecting claims that he had led mutiny. Nonetheless, the perception that player opinions significantly shaped the outcome has lingered. For Jones, that perception is troubling in itself, that he accepts that modern high-performance sport requires feedback mechanisms and internal evaluations. However, he believes the way information is gathered and used can either strengthen a program or undermine it. "The thing I don't like about it now," Jones said on the DSBN podcast, "is when they leak the results through a survey, and the boards do that. I think it's as weak as water." His frustration is not with consultation per se, but with governance. Surveys, interviews, and anonymous feedback can provide valuable insight into squad morale, cohesion, and confidence in leadership. But, he argues, they should form the basis of dialogue, not verdict. "You can get the survey from the players, and it's good information," he explained. "But then use that information to have a discussion with a coach. Don't take it at face value." The reality of player power, Jones, is no stranger to the concept of player power, and he insists that it is neither new nor inherently destructive. What concerns him is how it manifests and how organizations respond. In his view, player power rarely announces itself openly. It reveals itself in subtler ways, most notably through fluctuating effort and emotional inconsistency on the field. "It manifests itself through lack of effort," Jones said. "When you see a lack of effort on the field, rugby," he argues, "is as much emotional as tactical. Teams thrive when they are connected, when leaders and workers are aligned, when emerging players understand their roles, and when the coaching message resonates throughout the squad. When your team's not quite right, when you haven't got the right mix of leaders, when you haven't got the right mix of workers, and then you've got young guys coming through, and there's maybe some misalignment in the coaching staff. That's when you see a team that's a little bit up and down in effort. That inconsistency," he says, "can simmer quietly until a heavy defeat exposes deeper fractures. It can be sometimes clear, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to eat away, and it takes a bad loss for it to come out." While Jones stopped short of dissecting specific All Blacks performances, his comments suggest he saw signs of that emotional instability during Robertson's tenure. Lessons from England's darkest hour, Jones speaks from hard-earned experience. When he took over England after their disastrous 2015 Rugby World Cup campaign, where the hosts failed to progress beyond the pool stage, he inherited a fractured environment. The tournament, held in England, had been expected to mark a resurgence. Instead, it became a nadir. Confidence plummeted, factions formed, and internal trust eroded. There were fractions, and there were problems everywhere. Jones recalled he described an atmosphere where small groups of players would gather daily to air grievances and criticize teammates or management. There were 6 or 7 players every afternoon to go and have a cup of tea and talk about the problems, whinge about everyone else, and there was all those things going on. Jones made it a priority to rebuild unity and reestablish standards. The results were immediate. England embarked on a record-equaling winning run and reached the 2019 Rugby World Cup final. Yet even that campaign still haunts him. Regrets from 2019 despite guiding England to the final in Japan, where they famously dismantled New Zealand in the semi-final before losing to South Africa. Jones wonders whether unresolved tensions lingered beneath the surface. I always think back because it hurts me a lot. The 2019 World Cup final, maybe I didn't get that fixed as well as I should have, he admitted, because maybe some of those things came out a little bit. That admission offers insight into why he views the all-black situation through a particular lens. For Jones, internal fractures rarely disappear entirely. They must be actively managed, confronted, and aligned with clarity of leadership. He does not deny that players have influence. In fact, he sees it as inevitable in elite sport, where senior professionals command respect and authority. Player power is nothing new. It's always been there, he said, but the crucial difference lies in governance. When administrators allow anonymous sentiment to shape decisive action without transparent engagement, Jones believes they abdicate responsibility. The balance between consultation and control modern rugby operates in an era of unprecedented scrutiny. Player welfare, high-performance metrics, leadership groups, and cultural audits are now standard components of elite programs. Coaches no longer rule through fear or unilateral command. Collaboration is expected. However, Jones argues that ultimate accountability must remain clear. If a board initiates a review, it must interpret the findings critically and constructively, not reactively, in Robertson's case. Jones suggests that NZ Rugby failed to provide the head coach with the time and authority required to stabilize the program. Transition periods, especially following long-serving predecessors, are rarely seamless. Robertson had inherited enormous expectations and a proud legacy. Adjusting leadership structures, integrating younger talent, and refining tactical identity inevitably take time. Jones believes the union should have supported that evolution rather than cutting it short. From his perspective, surveys should inform strategy, not dictate it. If players express concerns, the board's role is to mediate and align, ensuring coach and squad reestablish trust, rather than allowing dissatisfaction to harden into dismissal. Leadership in the modern era, the debate around Robertson's exit highlights a broader shift in professional rugby. The redistribution of influence within teams. Senior players today are not merely performers. They are stakeholders in culture and direction. Leadership groups often have direct access to administrators, sports psychologists, and performance analysts. This can empower teams, but it can also complicate hierarchies. Jones' concern centers on clarity. When authority becomes blurred, accountability can dissipate. If players sense that dissatisfaction will translate swiftly into administrative action, subtle dynamics change. Effort may waver. Trust in coaching authority may weaken, and divisions can quietly deepen. Conversely, if boards dismiss player feedback entirely, resentment can fester. A warning for the future. While Kirk has publicly defended the integrity of the review process, and players have rallied behind Savea, the narrative of player influence continues to shape public perception. Jones' intervention ensures the debate will not fade quickly. His criticism is not personal towards Savea or individual players. Rather, it targets systemic fragility, what he describes as weakness in governance when boards leak or react prematurely to survey results. In his eyes, leadership demands resilience, the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths without surrendering strategic vision. Whether NZ Rugby will reflect on his words remains to be seen. But the controversy surrounding Robertson's departure has reignited fundamental questions about authority, alignment, and accountability at the highest level of the game.